awake for the whole thing. They go through your groin, they go through your neck. My heart is on a massive screen.
Holistic nutritionist Mona Sharma.
She's a renowned nutritionist determined to help as many people as she can.
And so in that moment on the surgery table, I knew that I had to go back to my roots. I finally just started dealing with all of the running open tabs in my mind, the critic in me, the judge in me, the sadness in me. And I started spending some time in nature. When we go to a doctor's office, we really lose all of our power. We forget that we're the ones in control of our own healing journey. And I just had to remember my superpower. Society really rewards busyness, especially as a woman. I despise the term mompreneur, right? We don't give that to dads. I didn't want to do it all. Pull back for a second and just like, hang on a second, I get to do this, right? Freedom comes with being who I am. Every single night when I put them to bed, I'm telling them the things that I wish I had heard as a child.
The Big Silence. It's time to sing.
Welcome to the Big Silence Podcast, Mona Sharma.
I'm so excited to do this with you.
I met you at a women's health event. Shout out Liz Plosser, because we were just talking about you.
Soul sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were there speaking, and I was speaking and teaching yoga and all the fun things. And I remember one morning, I think it was over breakfast, you were talking about how you got into, like, what you do. Give your, I've recently been asking, like, what is your elevator pitch? Who are you? What do you do today?
I love getting that question just in the world of wellness, which is so loud. I think my story really is just so tangible for people. So prior to health and wellness, I actually come from the world of fashion. So I used to work in head of sales and marketing and artistry for brands like Christian Dior and Tom Ford and these big luxury beauty brands. And on paper, it was an amazing job. It was a dream job, but it was also a corporate job. And, you know, typical corporate scenario with corporate burnout, that was me. I had tons of anxiety every day. I woke up every single morning just like feeling really, really stressed. And this goes back to childhood, but at this point in my life, it was just really amplified. And you know when you're working out of alignment with what you're supposed to be doing? So although there was like all this fun and excitement and doing makeup for fashion shows and stuff like that, I started getting these crazy heart palpitations where my heart rate would go up to about 200 beats per minute.
Oh, goodness.
Out of the blue, just from like bending down to pick something up. And I had digestive issues. I had PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Doctors told me that I would have a really hard time having kids, if at all. I have 2 kids today. And I'm like, this isn't working for me. Like, what are we going to do? So they put me on a beta blocker prescription medication.
Of course.
At that point in my life, I wasn't interested in getting to the root cause of anything. Like, give me the quick fix. I'm on this high, fast-speed lifestyle. I need to keep up with it. The beta blocker, what it does, it dulls everything. It slowed my heart rate down, but it also dulled my personality, my energy. I was like slow and lethargic in life. And I ended up gaining 45 pounds. So already anxious, depressed.
How old were you?
I was in my 20s. So this was, it all started, I guess, around much younger, but when things got worse, around 23, 24. Went back in, I'm like, 40 pounds later, this isn't working. What's the plan B? And they said, well, let's go in for a surgery. And I said, okay, let's do it. Let's go in for a surgery. So first heart surgery, my heart is on a massive screen. You're awake for the whole thing. They go through your groin, they go through your neck with these wires, and they try to induce these palpitations that I had by pumping me full of caffeine and adrenaline and all these uppers, when I knew the palpitations would only happen if I was moving my body. So anyways, I was getting so worked up that the palpitations finally happened, and they do an ablation. An ablation is where they literally burn off an electrical node of your heart. Wow. And then they burned off a second node that they found. And then the next morning I woke up in the hospital with my heart pounding again. The surgery didn't really work. And so I said, well, let's do it again. So we went in for a second surgery. This is at 24. They did an ablation, but then they found a second one that's by my SA node. So it moved from atrial tachycardia to sinus node tachycardia. And they said, well, if we do this one, you might have to wear a pacemaker for the rest of your life. And it's like one of those moments where your life flashes before your eyes. I'm like, what the hell is happening?
Which causes more anxiety.
Totally. But like, what is happening? I can't have kids. I'm, now identifying as somebody who has a heart condition. I'm not doing anything fun with my life. I was definitely like at that point partying as a form of release because I didn't care anymore. I knew that there was a better way to heal my body because growing up, my mother, who suffered from debilitating rheumatoid arthritis, her hands, her feet, everything was completely just deformed. My father, who's Indian, would take us to live at an ashram every single summer. So an ashram, just for your listeners, it's a spiritual center where you practice meditation and yoga and chanting and spirituality and living in community and eating real, whole vegetarian food every day outside in nature. I saw firsthand my mom's ability to heal or how she felt better. And so in that moment on the surgery table, I knew that I had to go back to my roots. And I also knew, like, these doctors, God bless them for trying to take away my pain. That's what the Western medicine system is trained to do. You have a problem, let's take away the imbalance. But they also weren't interested in getting to my root cause.
Right.
So if any of your listeners do get heart palpitations, basically doctors, they want to know, okay, well, are you taking too many stimulants? Do you have a lot of stress? But to diagnose my stress, they just put me on a stress test.
Oh, they actually did a stress test.
They did a stress test.
Usually it's just like, here, take this.
Yeah, but I feel like I was young, like,
Yeah.
oh, you're
Well,
healthy,
that-
you got
yeah.
through it. Okay, you're doing okay. You're not eating too much McDonald's.
Yeah, you would like my doctor. Side note here, my doctor in my 20s when I was having psoriasis all over my body, and it was a free clinic in Hollywood, and she was like, "Do you have stress in your life?" I'm like, "Yes." She's like, "I am not giving you any prescription. I want you to get vitamin D and go do yoga." Like, who was? And this was in 1999 or 2000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't have that cardiologist.
Yeah.
Not at all. And like these doctors also get paid for doing surgeries, right?
Correct.
And then the last thing is sepsis. So do you have an infection in your body? So I kind of got cleared of all of those and that was it. But now looking back, like I was going through so much hardship. I mentioned the anxiety. I literally had a broken heart. Like my parents were going through a divorce, massive change and move, new job, new everything. And I think that I really was living with a nervous system that was completely dysregulated from the time that I was a child. And so at this point in my 20s, we're like, overstressed, overworked, not knowing the direction of my life, not knowing what to do, not feeling good in my body, not feeling healthy, on medication. My heart was like, all right, enough is enough. Like we can't do this anymore, right? And we know that your heart it's connected to so many things: your gut, your energy, your emotions, your thoughts, your beliefs, your lifestyle, your environment. And doctors didn't really ask about any of that. So going back, I wish that I'd done the investigation, but like I went to the ashram and I finally just started dealing with all of the running open tabs in my mind, the critic in me, the judge in me, the sadness in me. And I started spending some time in nature. I started, talking to other people and sharing my story there. And I knew in that moment that I had to make some big changes. So I left the corporate world. I became a yoga teacher, meditation teacher, a holistic nutritionist, just for my own personal healing journey. But I got really curious, and then I became a Reiki practitioner, and then I got into NLP, and then I just started studying energy and stuff like that. And I've never looked back. So the foundation with my clients today is, one, let me teach you how to build your ashram at home. And two, like you are the healer. How do we get to the root of your suffering so that your body can come back into balance for you to be able to heal itself? Because I think that the body is incredibly resilient. And when we go to a doctor's office, we really lose all of our power. We forget that we're the ones in control of our own healing journey, or that we even have the capacity to do that. I certainly didn't believe it. I gave all my control to the doctors. But going back to the ashram, I realized that I could do it myself. I just had to remember my superpower.
Oh, the healing journey. And I agree with you. Love doctors. They help a lot. But sometimes like my wish all the time, even when my mom was suffering, I was like, don't you want to know what's happening mentally that she's having this disease? Have you gone into her cabinet? And because I went into her cabinet and looked at what she was eating and consuming.
Yeah.
And even for myself around 2020, when I was going through being a caretaker for my mom, and we know what 2020 was, and they're like, you have high blood pressure. Here's a medication. I'm like, I don't want a medication. Why don't you ask what's going on in my life? And maybe I'm not meditating enough. Maybe I'm not doing this. Like, do you have stress? How are you working out? There's just so many things around wellness that we need to integrate full circle, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And what's so crazy is that we call things like Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, ancient Greek medicine as alternative healing. But really, those were the original forms of healing the body. It's really Western medicine that should be called the alternative because they test time. Like Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old practice, right? And what they did at the ashram, I met with an Ayurvedic practitioner when I was doing my yoga teacher training, and she looked at me as a whole being, my physical body, my emotional body, my spiritual body, my energetic body. And she customized a protocol based on that. And that really was what allowed me to lose the weight. Like 45 pounds melted off my body. I started eating more carbs than ever before at the ashram. I wasn't working out 2 hours hardcore at the gym, which is what I thought I had to do in order to be fit and healthy, to fit into the fashion world. I stopped doing all of that. My body just came back into balance.
That's so interesting too, because I stopped weighing myself a few years ago, but when I stopped, I had gained 35, 40 pounds. And I was like, what is happening? I'm working out more. I'm not eating carbs. I'm not doing this. But then once I got into how to mentally lower my cortisol, it fell off.
Mm-hmm. This is the cool thing about today. Like, I think women especially are waking up to the fact that a lot of the science and fads and trends and everything that we're seeing publicized on the media, a lot of those studies were only done on men. Right? So like those protocols were perfect for men. But for me, the reason why my PCOS was so bad is that I had insulin sensitivity and with stress. And also in your prime fertility years, removing carbs and fat from your diet, it's like the worst possible thing that you can do. Right? So like that was further putting on more stress to my body. So I think that now I want to empower every single woman to believe your perfect healing protocol, your perfect diet, your perfect workout routine should be as unique as you. Like, what if you just got really curious about that and like the foods that make you feel good, the workouts that actually make you feel your best, and you followed that path instead of what you think the world is telling you to do is the right way.
I agree. You mentioned making an ashram at home.
Yeah.
Tell me how to do that.
Yeah, build your ashram. As much as I would love all of your listeners to be able to go to an ashram, the one that I grew up with is the Shivananda ashram. They have locations all around the world. I grew up at the one in Valmorin in Quebec. And then when I was old enough, they've got one in the Bahamas where I lead retreats today. When we look at the ashram, basically, they set the stage for optimal wellness to happen. All right. So how do they do that? First and foremost, there's a daily schedule. Our bodies love consistency and love rituals. The more that you can adopt doing the same things at the same time every single day and hopefully align those with nature, your body will have its own circadian rhythm that will thrive. So first thing in the morning, we rise with the sun. We go outside. We get energized by looking at the sun. We drink some hot water for our digestion. And then we go straight into meditation. And I highly recommend that everyone, if you don't have one already, whether you're religious, spiritual, or not, build an altar at your house. Like an altar that's an anchor for you. And there you can put religious images or deities or even your vision board or a picture of yourself in a moment in your life when you felt so happy and at ease. Allow it to be an anchor for yourself. So every time you look at it, one, it's time to meditate, or two, oh yeah, that's who I want to be. That's what I want to return to. After meditation, we move into a yoga practice, and it's not like Western yoga where it's like hardcore, athletic, acrobatic yoga. What I love about this style of yoga is that we go into a pose and then we rest afterwards. So imagine doing a pose, holding it, moving into that little bit of stress.
And finding stillness. Oh my gosh.
Finding
It's like
stillness.
The hardest part of yoga is the yoga when you have to hold poses.
Totally. But there's a way to train your body to you can daydream, you can visualize in those moments. You can speak to your body. You can think about what you want to build in your life. But after the hardship of the pose or the stress of the pose, you get down on your mat and you go into Shavasana after every single pose. Okay. So what that looks like for you here, Maybe for some of you, it's a yoga practice. Maybe it's a tone it up workout. Maybe it's a form of exercise that you love. But like really establishing a strong morning practice that's going to set the tone for your entire day. And then, go through your house, like do an audit of your house. At the ashram, everything that you see, everything that is there is attuned to your highest health and well-being. So imagine you have Karina and myself with you, your nutritionist. We're going to start with your kitchen. We're going to go through your kitchen, just like you said you looked at your mom's, and just see,
that all had to go.
It had to go. Yeah,
All
for
of it.
so many people. Yeah. Like if you don't want to show it to me, ask yourself why you think it's okay for you to eat it, to consume it. Part of that is definitely going to be maybe food addiction that you have to a certain food. But when you get off of the addiction to certain foods, your body resets itself. Your taste buds actually change.
On the food topic, obviously, because you're like celebrity chef and extraordinaire. With my mom, when I became her caregiver, they said she had 2 weeks to live. And I went to her house and saw what she was consuming. And bless her, the empty vodka bottles and processed food. And even in the hospital, then I started bringing her like green juices and fresh food because the hospital food, love our doctors, but it's crap. And she lived 5 years, 5 years changing her diet. I believe it was changing her diet and not having her being isolated.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's amazing that you did that. You changed her life. And I wish doctors and nurses, they just need to learn. They need to understand that food is information. Like there's a genetic profile to food. At the ashram, we even say that food has energy. It has light source, energy, life force from like the sun, the air, the water, the soil that it's grown in. There's actually like a genetic code within the soil that food is grown that supports our immune system. So you want to look for real, whole, unprocessed foods as much as possible. I know we're busy, but like shop the outer perimeter of the store. Do your best to buy the bulk of those foods. Today you can buy them pre-cut, pre-washed, ready to go. And then once a week, like try to just focus on doing a little bit of food prep so that maybe 2 meals are done, 3 meals are done, 4 meals are done. And you establish this opportunity to eat like you love yourself, like foods that are actually going to help you thrive.
So I have a question for you. I just had a guest on the podcast last week, and we have been trained, or I have, and a lot of people, to shop the perimeter. But she was saying that shopping the frozen vegetable and fruit department is actually really good right now.
It's actually a great idea. Why? Because those foods, they have to be plucked ripe and then they're frozen immediately, right?
So they keep their nutrients?
They keep their nutrients, right? Okay. A lot of the other foods, because you can get foods from all over the world, most, seasonal foods any time of the year, they're plucked before they're ripened. They're sprayed with toxic chemicals and fertilizers and things that help them ripen in transit. That could be hundreds of thousands of miles before it lands into looking pretty in the grocery store, right? So, yeah, I get that.
I don't know if I interrupted your at-home ashram.
Yeah, I can finish it up. So we go through the kitchen is the first thing, right? Eat like you love yourself. Nourishment is everything. And like your body can have some fun foods, okay? So like you will find some processed food in my house, but we live in a time where you can get healthier options for processed foods, and just make sure you minimize those, all right? So protein, carb, and fat at every single meal is the establishment of how to build a plate. So after the kitchen, you know what to eat. We're going to go through the rest of your house. We want to go through the personal care products that you're using. When I worked in cosmetics, I was spraying hotel rooms, conference rooms with perfume. I was inhaling them. Now, perfumes are loaded with chemicals and phthalates. Phthalates is a chemical binder that goes onto your skin that prevents you from having to respray the perfume over and over throughout the day. But those are massive hormone disruptors. So sure enough, my hormones were a complete mess back then. I stopped getting my menstrual cycle when I worked at Dior. It was crazy. So skip the perfumes. There's so many cool, safer, better options. Never put perfume onto your body. Put them onto your clothes. Clean up your personal care products. One brand that I love is the Detox Market. It's a place where you can go, shop your heart out with products that are safe. Check to see, there's tons of apps online. There's a Yucca app that you can go and just see the safety of the products that you're using at home. You want to do this for your personal care products, your laundry detergents, your cleaners. You want to minimize the toxin exposure that you have at home. home. When you minimize your toxin exposure, the way that you do it in Ashram, your body can heal itself. It's not defending itself from what you're putting onto it or into it anymore. So that would be another staple.
My question there is, you said you stopped having your menstrual cycle, but you
Yeah.
were working in corporate. So was it stress, corporate, not doing what you loved, not doing the practices that you do now?
I had the perfect modern day storm. So, me trying to hustle to prove to myself. And I thought that the more success that I had, the better that I could look on the outside, the less people would see my internal suffering. So there was that. Then there was waking up with stress and anxiety, which we know shuts down everything within the body. Stress is the instigator of all dis-ease within the body. And then there was the chemical aspect, just like inhaling, breathing, wearing all of these chemicals every single day. On top of not dealing with like the emotions that were coming up, I literally was, nope, not going to deal with that now. Pushing it down. I don't even think I could cry at that time. Like I was just so angry and like I was such a hustler to get to the top of my game that nothing else mattered.
I know. I'm like, why do we get to that point? We're the same
Society-
age now, and we're like,
Yeah.
Now I'm like,
Because society really rewards busyness and looking busy and being on the go and being a hustler. And especially as a woman, like if there's any mothers listening to you, I despise the term mompreneur. Right? We don't give that to dads. I didn't want to do it all. As a woman, I wanted equal rights, equal pay, equal opportunities, but I didn't want to necessarily do it all. But even now as a mom, like the conditioning runs really, really deep. And then I think for myself, having immigrant parents too, I just had to hustle to get to the top of my game really fast. Having an Indian dad, I didn't become a doctor or a lawyer as is always, really pushed and admired in the South Asian community. And it was being reflected back at me. I would get a promotion. I'd move up the corporate ladder. I was getting recognized by other people in the industry. And so I wore that as a badge of honor. So my stress and my anxiety came with a badge of honor. Oh, well, look, I just have to keep doing this, right? You get to a point where if you live in a hypervigilant state for too long, your body will shut down completely. And that's when we move to coping mechanisms, alcohol, drugs, too much caffeine, too much working out, too many stimulants, Netflix binging, whatever you call it. And it might feel like it's coping in the moment, but all you're doing is delaying all the hardship, the trauma, the stored emotions for a new day.
So for me,
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity and where I've worked really hard and my husband's like, Karina, just stop, slow down.
Yeah.
You don't have to do this. And I did for a minute, but I realized I love working. So how do you make that shift? And I know this might sound a bit privileged or I don't want to come across wrong.
Yeah.
So straighten me up if I'm coming across wrong. But that's why I started the Big Silence, to give back. I love doing things and connecting with people and community and healing lives. So where is that shift for you coming from that hustle culture? But you work a lot. You're out there doing the thing. And at what point, if any, did that anxiety shift to joy?
I catch myself, as I said, I lived in that hypervigilant state for so long that it's almost like that felt more comfortable for me because I felt like if I were to relax or not do enough, then I was being lazy. Right? Yeah. So like, nope, get off the couch. I couldn't nap. I couldn't rest. I couldn't take a break. I couldn't do
love
any
napping
of that.
now.
Yeah. I'm learning how to nap at 44 years old. Isn't that crazy?
Same. I know. I'm like, I think I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah. It's
I think
beautiful.
I'm going to say no to that call because
to gift your body with rest, which by the way is scheduled at the ashram. Rest is scheduled. I think we all need to practice doing that. So today, like you, and you're such a role model for women in this area, but turning your passion into purpose, right? That's the difference. So now when I catch myself like, oh my God, I'm speaking here today, doing this podcast, book offers coming up, growing my own podcast, interviewing guests, meeting with my clients one-on-one. Like it's constant, but then I have to like, oh, you're doing it again. You're judging, you're criticizing, you're in that mode of hypervigilance. Pull back for a second and just like, hang on a second, I get to do this, right?
Yeah.
And even today, coming to meet you, I think the blessing is like, I get to do this. I get to help inspire other people. My hope is that one person is even inspired to make one single change, right? And like, that feels really, really good. And I think that now I just came to terms with like the freedom that comes with being who I am. Like, oh, I don't have to try to be like anyone else anymore. I don't have to fit into a mold anymore. So I get to just go out into the world. And I really do think that an optimal healing journey ultimately becomes a journey of spirituality and consciousness. Like, you're awakening the version of yourself within you that you came into this world as. So if you, Karina Dawn, the day you were born, you came into this world, as a note. This beautiful, vibrant, energetic note. And all you had to do was like stay true to who you are and that path and sing your note really, really loud out into the world. But what happens to all of us is that note, that light gets dimmed through not just our parents and our trauma, but even from like bullies. Children are mean growing up, or shitty teachers, or maybe you had a sibling that just like destroyed things for you, right? And so our light dims and dims and dims. And I think it takes a really big leap of faith to be like, I'm going to really just do the work to remember who I am and what I really want and how I live my life. And I don't know if you've gone through this yet, but I feel like now I'm at an age where life is going by so fast. Like, everything all of a sudden is just on fast forward and looking towards the end. Like, what do I really want to be doing with my time? How can I be of service? How do I want to be remembered?
My husband's like, you're turning 43 this year on Saturday? I'm like, no, 44. He's like, holy shit. He's like, you're 44? Dear Bobby, who's 40 and had like a very hard time turning 40. But I think even with age, that's where you start to figure out like that doesn't matter anymore.
No, and I don't know about you, but I feel better in my body than ever before.
I do too.
More at ease with who I am than ever before. I'm feeling like I'm falling in love. Like I said to that analogy, like, I'm trying to remember myself as a little girl. And I do this practice with my clients actually. If we were to go just take a trip, it's called timeline therapy and NLP, and we go and visualize yourself as a kid before all this stuff happened. What colors were you wearing? How did you wear your hair? What shoes did you have on? What toys were you playing with? What were you doing at the playground? Right? If there was a song in the background, what was the song playing? And more often than not, I'm met with tears, like just the remembering of like, oh my God, I remember. I used to be really confident just being me.
Yeah, thinking of, if we're talking about the body specifically, I remember a moment in my childhood bedroom, and before all of the body shaming and stuff that went on as a teenager, and I was sitting in front of a mirror with my sister, my older sister, and I squeezed my leg and I laughed. I'm like, look, I create it was cellulite. I was like, how cute is that? Look. And you laugh about it. I know it's just a different thing where as a child, like that is fine. And then the world, like, you can laugh about it and be like, look at this. I can make my body look like this. And then as an adult or a teenager, society's pressure really changes that, and then you become shameful.
What I'm noticing now with my kids, so I was able to have kids. I had a brutal miscarriage. I miscarried twins, but after that, my daughter is 7 and my son is 10. And what I'm finding every single night when I put them to bed, I'm telling them the things that I wish I had heard as a child.
Yeah.
Don't ever try to be like anyone else. Be exactly who you are. You are amazing and incredible just the way that you are. Pure perfection, golden light, just happiness, never dim your light, right? And they're breathing it in. Like, now when I say goodnight to them, I'll say those words. They take a deep breath and there's just like a sense of ease, right?
Yeah.
Because is there anything more safe, like a safer feeling in your body than just like the permission to be who you are and who you're meant to be?
That's beautiful. I'm not a parent for many reasons, but I know I'd be a great one.
Yeah.
And I can see.
You care in other ways.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Deeply in other ways. Yeah.
Back to at-home ashram.
Ashram. I know we could.
We're gonna.
Yeah. So build your ashram, right? So then we're going to go into sleep, right? So like we just mentioned, rest is such a priority for the body to heal itself. Your body can regenerate. And we forget this. Like, if doctors recognize that, okay, well, there's an imbalance, but I know your body can heal itself. So how do we work back to help it heal? rest. What do you have to do after surgery? You have to sleep. You have to rest, right? So when you go into your bedroom, I want you to notice if there's any distractions, anything that could be stimulating for you. I tell my clients that your bedroom is meant for sleep, for sex, and for rest. That's it. Next, we want to go through, do you have blackout curtains? Is the temperature cool? Do you have sheets, hopefully, that are non-toxic? And I'm listening to myself speak, and, for some people listening, Mona, like, it gets so expensive. Why is being well so expensive? Like buying non-toxic stuff, non-toxic cleaners, non-toxic food, organic. And it is really, really frustrating, but buy what's on sale. Take advantage of those things when they do come on sale. And just take your time turning your house into an ashram so that when you go home, you know that you're stepping into a space that's about creating the optimal version of you or for your family as well.
My goal, halfway there.
Halfway there.
I mean, even if you're halfway, that's a lot of pressure. And especially if you have kids and clutter.
Totally. Yeah.
Clutter.
That clutter drawer, which is, everyone has.
I have a clutter room and a clutter hallway.
And I get it. Like growing up, my dad would always say, cluttered house is a cluttered mind. Cluttered house is a cluttered. And we all know it too, right? But I think that because we've become so busy in life today, we're putting our own health and well-being aspects to the side. We put them off till later. And, if you paid for a practitioner to work with you, they would partner with you in creating a schedule. Here's the schedule for how to do your food prep. Here's the schedule for the one day that you're going to clean out that drawer or that closet or throw away those old things. Like, just create a schedule so that you know what's happening. And then you won't have that constant overwhelm. Like I said, that open tab at the back of your brain that's just like draining energy, just make the space and get it done.
Yeah, I definitely, each day I'm like one little task of cleaning and decluttering.
You got it.
Get rid of it. I want to talk about how you became a private chef for Will Smith, Jay Shetty, who else?
Julianne Hough I've worked with, a handful of other celebrities. Yeah.
How you got to that point from your corporate job.
Yeah. So when I became a nutritionist, again, just for my own healing journey, I somehow started teaching yoga in Toronto, working with NHL players there. And my first nutrition client was Jonathan, the Property Brothers. Jonathan, do you know who he is?
Yeah.
I was like, I really enjoy this. And like, he was having some success and changing the way that he eats and stuff like that. And flash forward, we ended up moving to Los Angeles and just like trying to be active and getting to know other people and networking and stuff like that. And I met this great doctor, and this doctor said, I think I have a client for you. Be available tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Just pick up your phone. I was like, all right. Pick up my phone the next day at 12 o'clock, and the voice on the other end said, hey, Mona, it's Will Smith.
You're like, oh, hi.
Oh, and like you don't mistake that voice, right? Yeah, he was such a gift. They had me on the Red Table Talk show, working with him and his family, and I took them through everything that I'm talking to you about today, just like this holistic approach and how to optimize their health inside and out. And that really, I guess, put me on the radar and opened up the door to other opportunities and stuff like that. So super grateful. Love that family till this day. Everything, what you see is what you get. They're just incredible people.
And so then you transition to not doing one-on-one nutrition clients. So where are you today?
Still working with one-on-one people. I had a great few years with a guy named Jesse Itzler. Do you know who he is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, his wife...
Sarah Blakely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spanx.
Yeah.
I don't know them, but I love them. They're so funny.
They're so great.
Yeah.
I'm like really lucky to work with all these people.
Yeah.
And Jesse, he did these adventure retreats for about 3 or 4 years that we were part of. And in this weird way, what he was doing was the same aspect of an ashram, getting yourself into nature, prioritizing moving, prioritizing your mental health, eating real food from the earth. Jesse's a great advocate for eating really great, healthy food. And from there, I still work with some clients one-on-one, like people who are really committed to just, addressing it and like really taking healing from the inside out in the same way that I approach it. And then I launched my podcast, Rooted in Wellness, which I love. And like the intention on everything that we're speaking to today, it's time for us to merge ancient wisdom with modern medicine, right? You and I, at some point, we needed modern medicine and the gifts that it has. And by the way, modern medicine is doing some incredible things in terms of understanding our biology and preventing disease, right? And once in a while, we do need medication, but it is a very antiquated system also. They need to learn about nutrition and more about mental health and how to heal the body outside of prescription drugs. So if they were to merge that with, these 5,000-year-old practices that come come from ancient wisdom. Just imagine, what would it be like if you were to go to the doctor and the waiting room was now instead a guided breathwork practice before you see your doctor? And when you leave, if you're given a prescription drug, it also comes with a personalized food protocol and maybe some supplements and an actual game plan. Okay, like 3 months from now, we're going to meet again. And we're going to see if the inflammation's gone down in your body. We're going to see if your digestion's improved. We're going to see if your mental health is improved. And so you actually have a partner in healing. And I pray that that's the future of health. We talk about integrative health medicine, but we don't practice it yet.
We don't. And it's wild to me. And I had this conversation when my mom was in the hospital. And I'm like, don't you want to know why she's having all these GI problems, these bleeds? Do you ask her what she's eating? I was like, she has a history of schizophrenia and depression. Like, they're like, and the doctor literally got mad at me and said, we don't deal with mental health. We deal with physical. I'm like, but it's intertwined. Like, at what point are we going to have that integration?
Oh, my God.
It made me so mad.
A doctor recently told me that leaky gut doesn't exist.
Yep.
Careful what you see on social media. Leaky gut doesn't exist. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Oh, yeah. My mother, after having a portion of her colon removed, the doctor was like, yeah, you're fine. Go eat at McDonald's if you need it. That's what's easiest for you.
Yeah, my mom had a portion of her colon removed, too. And
Yeah. So frustrating, right? And so I really hope that the future of medicine has to change, because what we see now is that the system is broken. Like, this is the first time in the past 50 years that the life expectancy in the US has actually declined in comparison to the rest of the world. We spend more on health and wellness and on our medical system than ever before, but these numbers are going down.
Would you say you have to be your own advocate, go to the doctor, listen to them, but at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of new blood work companies that then can provide supplements for you these days.
Supplement world is also coming a little bit like the Wild West.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's wild. And some really reputable, amazing supplement companies that I loved, I just found out, like, they often get bought out by companies like Nestle that makes chocolate bars, right? Like, is the intention still the same? Is the efficacy and the quality of ingredients still the same? When you read the back of the label, which is so important to do, whether it's a supplement or a food or a personal care product, all of a sudden the ingredients change. So you really do have to be in control. 60% of the population in the US has one chronic disease. 40% has two chronic diseases. Over 40 million people in the US are suffering from some sort of anxiety-related disorder or depression. And these numbers are all now targeting our kids. There's a rise of cancer amongst children. Depression is happening earlier. Men and boys, the testosterone is dropping like by 50%, right? Like, girls are going through puberty so much sooner. So, like, we see in flashing red lights that the system is broken. And I am all for science, but when I don't have access to the science, and for example, if I do take one of my clients to the ashram and they feel a difference, now that I've been doing that for 15 years, that trumps anything, right? I don't need to see the data if I know that my client, one, they see the physical changes happening, their emotions feel better, their sleep is optimized, their bowel movements are better, then that's all you need. And I think it does take quite a bit of ownership to really understand that, and the initiative to really find a doctor that's your partner in healing as well. And there's lots of amazing resources online. Never self-diagnose with Dr. Google and stuff like that.
Dr. Google's the worst.
But definitely, take in as much education as you can, so that when your doctor, who wears that white lab coat, we'd mentioned that I felt like my power was taken away because this professional is in front of me. He knows best. I know nothing, right? That doesn't exist anymore, because we know that their form of training is very antiquated. So go in with questions, write them down on paper so that you don't feel nervous when you're there. I do this with my mom, and I'm amazed. Like, the doctor that my mom has today, he actually gave her a meditation app to practice. I was shocked. Yeah.
I sent Bobby's dad some meditations, but I don't think he listened. He's going through a big health problem right now. But
yeah,
I do believe that meditation can be so healing.
Totally. And that's a good point, too. I love that you brought that up. I'm talking about my mom. You're talking about your mother and your father-in-law. Right now, so I said the life expectancy in the U.S. is going down. The last 10 years that we have in our life are really they're not quality years. We're in nursing homes. We're being shipped off. We're guaranteed that we're going to be sick. We're going to have lots of health issues, be on medications. It's like we're working so hard to heal now, but for what? So I would say when I'm working with my clients, it's so important for you to adopt a why. my why when I was in my 20s was, how do I get the number on the scale to look like this? How do I fit that skirt or those pants? How do I get rid of my acne? Like all of these like external physical things, right? And now my why is, how do I make it so that when I'm 100, 110, because gosh, it's probably likely that you and I can live that long, or I still have my strength and my mental health and my posture and my vitality. How can I go hiking with a grandkid on my back at that age? And I literally feel, I can see that moment so clearly within my body. And if your why is so big and important to you and you can make it feel real, it's only natural that the decisions that you make are going to align with the version of yourself that you want to become. So it has to be a priority. Don't just hope for the best.
I love that. Yeah. My why these days, I'm like, Bobby, I just want to live and enjoy. I don't care. I mean, obviously, I care what I look like here and there, but I just want to love our life.
Yeah.
And less stress. I want to talk about hydration, gut health, mental health, all, because I feel like a lot of people are dehydrated in this world. I was just taking a sip of my big old water, and I have some electrolytes in there too. But just your thoughts on hydration.
I think it's going to be different for everyone based on, the climate that you're in, your type of lifestyle, also the types of foods that you're eating. Generally, the consensus, though, when people increase their water intake, they tend to feel better. From an Ayurvedic perspective, we typically prescribe not having iced water. Ice, if you think about your digestive fire, your Agni, it needs to stay hot. So when you pour ice on top of it, it could deplete your digestion. And just notice if that maybe improves your digestion. So a good rule of thumb is to definitely aim for over a liter a day. If it feels good to get to 2 liters a day and your urine isn't clear and you're not running to the bathroom all the time, taking small, tiny sips throughout the day away from your meals. And then I really like boosting my water. So adding things like a Baja Gold sea salt, or there's an amazing company called Beam. Have you tried Beam?
Haven't.
I'm not even connected with them, but they've got minerals and electrolytes that you can put into your water that doesn't taste like anything.
Yep.
We don't think about our body losing electrolytes or losing minerals, and minerals are so important to our brain function, our hormones, our bones, and stuff like that. So really boosting your water. And if you're somebody who has a hard time drinking water, put some fruit in it. Put the organic berries or some apple or some lemon or orange, whatever feels good. And most importantly, I would say love on herbal teas. At the ashram, we drink so many different types of herbal teas because herbs are medicinal, like literally as nature's medicine. So at home, please make sure that you've got a beautiful spice cabinet, maybe grow some fresh herbs on your counter, adding rosemary to your water, peppermint to your water, or drinking those types of teas. Tulsi tea is great. Ashwagandha tea is really great for minimizing stress. Green tea is really supportive for longevity because of the L-theanine that's in it also. So try to get at least a cup of green tea a day also.
But what if you don't want caffeine? Like I'm not a caffeine person because I have anxiety.
So good.
Oh my gosh, you would hate this, but I'm going to tell you. Years ago, let's say 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, I would wake up, have a shot of espresso, to then go walk to the coffee shop and get a triple espresso, come home, do a little workout, get ready for work, go to the office. My assistant would have a triple espresso ready for me at the desk, and then at least a double or a triple around 2 or 3 p.m.
Crazy.
Isn't that
Sister,
insane?
I see you. When I was in corporate world, the exact same thing. Yeah, having caffeine now, I used to drink, same venti latte at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If I did that today, I would be wired.
I stopped because with my mom, I had so much anxiety that I stopped drinking caffeine. And then I was like, oh, I don't really need it. I've kind of like eased in. Like people know I might have like 1 sip of coffee.
Yeah.
Or I love, what is it? Ketone IQ.
Yeah. They're great.
Love ketones.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, just for energy.
So what's the deal with coffee? So coffee can be toxic. If you go to Starbucks, just stop because the coffee's full of mold and pesticides and toxins. And then you're pouring this insanely hot liquid into a cup that's rimmed with plastic. And plastics and all of these microplastics are now being found in our bodies, but also in umbilical cords. Like it's crazy. So take your own cup of coffee if you're going to go somewhere. Find an organic coffee barista if you love coffee. And that's, with me, I love the taste, the smell, the aroma. Like I love everything about coffee. But again, my blueprint is anxiety, right? So when I have it, it's like, I remember this feeling. It feels really good to be agitated and like up and like go, go, go.
Yeah.
So now I can have a coffee, but it's typically after 10 o'clock. It's typically with food also. And I'll brew at home. So you want to look for brands of coffee that are really clean, that are tested for mold, because coffees carry a lot of mold, that are organic also. And you want to store it in a dry place. I think a lot of people store their coffee in the fridge or freezer.
Yeah, that's what Bobby is, a big caffeine person. It's in the freezer.
So you're not supposed to, because moisture builds up on the inside. So every time you take it out, the moisture will turn into mold over time. So yeah, love on your coffee, but be mindful of your hormones. So if I do have coffee now, like I said, it's a great brand. There's so many, Four Sigmatic, Dave Asprey's got his Danger Coffee, which is really great.
If you've tried that, yeah.
Yeah, there's Purity Coffee. There's so many great brands.
Connect with the Four Sigmatic founder. He's here in Austin.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, he's love Four Sigmatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know his wife, Cora Skinner. We, in our 20s, modeled together.
Great. No way. What a lovely
Now they have
family.
like 3 boys or something.
Yeah, what's great about their coffee is that they've got adaptogens added to it, right? Another brand is Strong Coffee, which I really, really love. Paleo Valley is a great coffee that's organic, mold tested, pesticide free. So just stand for a coffee that's actually going to work for you if it's going to have benefits for you also.
So many things. It can be very overwhelming.
Yeah, and let's hover on that for a second.
Yeah,
So, for people, if anyone's just like, they're inspired to take action on 1 or 2 or 3 things today.
That was my last question
good.
what's one, well, maybe my last question was, what is one wellness myth you wish people would stop believing? But maybe you can also simplify.
I'll tie that in.
Yeah, tie that in.
So if I was working with you, we would hop on our first assessment call and I would ask you, what are the 3 imbalances that you're suffering with that I can help you take away? And I want everyone to put that down on paper. And then you can do this yourself. So if you're looking at things like digestive issues, like poor sleep or anxiety, what are the 3 things that are happening at your home or in your life that are contributing to your imbalances? And start there. All right, that's it. Don't do a crazy overhaul. I'm telling you now, officially, diets don't work. There's no red pill. There is no best fad or diet. You really need to figure out what works best for you. And to do that, I look at my clients' biology. So make sure you're getting a blood lab done once, if not twice a year, and a full spectrum, full panel blood lab for every single system in your body. Check on your inflammatory markers, check on your blood glucose also, check on your cholesterol level so that you can actually just know what and why you're supposed to be eating and what and why you're supposed to be taking in terms of supplements, because with supplements, whatever you see happening or trending on Instagram might not be good for you. So really tailor it down to those 3 things. And in terms of so not dieting is the first one. The biggest myth I would say is that carbs are bad. Carbs can be so beautiful for you. And we talk about gut health a lot today. In order to diversify your gut microbiome and the trillions of gut cells within you, you want to feed the good bacteria, and they love fiber that comes from vegetables. And I know that you've all heard of eating the rainbow, but eat the rainbow, reds, greens, purples, blues, everything, and build your fiber intake up over time. Don't do it all right away, but I would love to kind of partner with you in getting to 25 or 35 grams of fiber slowly, but from foods that come from the earth, not foods that come from boxes. And instead, just focused on, it's like these ultra processed foods that we know are causing us some harm, right? So turn the box over. At the ashram, we say anything that comes from a box is it's dead food, right? There's no life force, no energy to it whatsoever. So just minimize your intake of those foods. If you don't know what the ingredient is, neither will your body, and it probably won't serve your health, your happiness, your energy, your sex drive, none of it, right? So yeah, increasing your fiber, but love on carbs that come from the earth at every single meal.
So would you say that's a myth that people need to stop believing is avoid carbs?
100%. Yeah, and some people do well with pasta, some people don't. For me, I noticed that when I cut out gluten, my anxiety actually goes down.
Really?
Yeah, and you can do tests for this too. So you might not be celiac, but you might have non-reactive gluten sensitivity. There's great labs that can test for this. If you want to do a genetic test, you can actually figure out a lot of things about you. So your sleep chronotype, whether you're a fast caffeine metabolizer, a slow caffeine metabolizer, the types of exercises that are best suited for your constitution, your methylation pathways to see the types of supplements that you should be taking or the ones that just don't work for your physiology. The more information that you can get to really understand your constitution and your body and your cells and everything, allows you to really take control over your health.
I know that sounds like a lot again, but it really doesn't have to be. And I feel like your newsletter would be a great place to start.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I send out my newsletter. Anyone, if you go to monasharma.com, you'll have access to the foundations that we've talked about. So like these things that help you get rooted in your wellness and the pillars that you can start with, and doing an audit of your house. I will guide you through all of that. And through my newsletter, you'll get lots of tips. I will only ever support brands that I love and stand behind.
Yeah.
So I'll never recommend something for the sake of recommending in the world of influencer land, like we were talking about before. We've got to make a stand as women. Like,
we say
no more suffering.
Exactly.
Yeah, you are your healer. Just own that. I'm a healer. I can take control over what I want to do and how I want to feel. And it doesn't have to start on Monday, and it doesn't have to start on January 1st. It can start tonight.
You can start
right
this
now.
minute.
Go have a glass of water. Take a deep breath. Maybe acknowledge something that you're ready to let go of, an emotion. Notice when you're a critic or a judge in your mind. And if there's like a behavior that needs to stop, find a resource or a practitioner that can really help guide you, because there's no need for you to suffer. This life is too short.
I love that. And I fully agree with that, where we have that choice of suffering. And I know for some people, they don't know, they don't believe that. But there are the resources asking for help. There are people who want to help and hold your hand and walk you through this, whatever you're going through.
Especially with mental health. Yeah. Like, God, if you're suffering from mental health, your body is communicating with you. And often when we fix specific imbalances in the body, even like food allergies and food sensitivities and food additives and chemicals and colors and dyes and all these things, like the reports are out there that the symptoms are minimized in people. Yeah.
We're here to help.
Yes.
Thank you, Mona Sharma. Everywhere how to connect with you will be in the show notes.
You got it.
And I appreciate you having this conversation with me.
The big silence. It's time to sing.